everything else versus Bitcoin essentially gets spent and dies.
I want to be able to have reactive security, and I think OpVault is today the most straightforward, easiest to use way to do that.
I will not be insulted by a clockmaker.
Overall, these kind of ways to make the network easier to both build on and interact with, I think is a really big deal.
If Bitcoin existed when we started Twitter, we would not have to go down the ad model path. I mean, it's simple as that.
Integrating Lightning into a social network is the killer app.
Hello, and welcome to the Bitcoin.Review podcast, where we explore developments and projects with the people who actually make them happen. The show is supported by Pod 2.0, SAT Streaming, and CoinKite. If you're a new listener, I'm NVK. I run CoinKite, where we've been helping people secure their Bitcoins for over a decade. We make the COLDCARD and fun products like the block clock. You can find more information about it on coinkite.com. Hello, and welcome back to the Bitcoin Review podcast. Nothing's happening in Bitcoin, so we hope to bore you to death for the next 2 hours. There's almost no software updates. So, man, the list is so big, we're so fucked. I hope you guys speed. So, welcome, new guest, Matt Hill, sir.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
Matt is founder of Start9, a nice little box that's not a Raspberry Pi that does Bitcoin things and many other things.
We don't make hardware.
Yes, and you don't use Raspberry Pi. Fantastic.
We don't recommend it.
Hardware is really hard. I'm glad you guys don't make hardware.
Rijndael, welcome back, sir.
Good morning. Great to be back.
Rijndael now has a professional mic. He pressed add all on Amazon, and he's, look at me, I'm a podcaster now.
That's right. 2-day shipping is dangerous.
And hello, Mr. Odell. Welcome back.
Good morning, sir. Looking forward to it.
All right, guys. We'll start here. A little housekeeping. SATSLINK. We've announced this. This is essentially leveraging the mechanical design that we did for COLDCARD Q. Otherwise, it would not be possible to economically make this device. So we're using the QWERTY keyboard, and we're making a little peer-to-peer, hackable, multi-purpose little device for people to go nuts. And in good CoinKite fashion, we're adding a secure element. Don't worry. You don't have to program secure element. We're doing that for you. It's going to be part of like the sort of lower level stuff that we're going to offer. It's ESP32. All the specs are on satslink.com/specs. You can also pre-order there. I think right now it's at $189.
So it's the same keyboard and case as the Q. Is it the same BOM or is it different?
No, completely different. Everything.
Like, so different MCU, like everything's different. Okay.
Everything's different.
That's cool.
There's going to be so much confusion.
Oh, yeah. You know, it's kind of like when we launched TAPSIGNER and SATSCHIP at the same time.
Yeah. People still don't realize the difference.
Yeah, I know.
There's like 80% of people are still confused on the difference between TAPSIGNER and SATSCHIP.
You know, our job is to make cool shit, and we let the professional podcasters help people understand what the fuck we're doing. So because this device is ESP32, the bar is a lot lower for people to write software for it. It's like MicroPython.
Yeah.
I think you can compile Rust to it too. You're going to be able to make Nostr clients and send sats to each other and probably run a fucking node on it. Like not a full node, but...
I just had Ken from the VLS project on Scylla Dispatch. And he was talking about how Paul from Stackwork was already working on an ESP32 implementation for VLS. So, I mean, like Paul wants them to be like $10, build it yourself, super cheap, send it out to the developing world. But I could see SATSLINK being like a great high-end version.
Yeah, I mean, I don't subscribe to the proverbial grandma or developing world doing all this stuff, realistically speaking, like all the docs are in English. There's going to be like, handful of dudes in each country that might be developing on this stuff, but developing world doesn't have money. What they need is like very easy onboarding ways of getting money and earning money. I think they don't have as much time to hack on this stuff. It's great. We love that. We're going to do the usual. We send fucking tons of this stuff for free to developing world. But I feel like there's a little bit too much bullshit around this in terms of, PayPal calls it ROW, rest of the world, as they describe it. Anyways, the idea of this is just like, it's going to leverage the ESP32 P2P Wi-Fi. So technically you could make two devices talk to each other directly. Very much easier than trying to pair two devices over Wi-Fi. If you're running, you could maybe do some Mercury states chain, sort of like private key exchange, for example. You can do a bunch of cool shit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure Rijndael is going to develop some weird stuff for this.
Yeah, I've got all kinds of wacky ideas.
So you have the pre-order price at $189. Is that going to increase after pre-orders?
We still have a few unknowns. So we already have working boards for this. It's pretty ahead. But ESP32, for people that don't know, is a Chinese-made module, right? With their own sort of chipset and all that crap. And like everything that is very Chinese, it's tricky to have a firm understanding on supply and versioning and stuff like that. They will have listed a part number on their website that doesn't exist. So getting over that hump, we have like good suppliers and stuff. So we're just working on the final version we actually want to use because we want all the possible features we can get from a better version of the module.
Are you guys writing firmware for it, or is it just coming blank and it's...
No. We're doing the heavier lift.
Cool.
It's going to have the QR scanner that Q1 is going to have. Also NFC 5, if I remember right.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, the ESP32 is the successor to an older part called an ESP8266 or 8622. I always get it backwards. But it's like really low cost Wi-Fi module that people ported the Arduino stack onto.
Yes.
And so there's a shitload of like libraries and code out there for it already.
Yeah, we're going to probably put the glue for you to just like load your Uno files.
Cool.
Can we run SATSLINK on this?
Probably. You can probably run Jade on it too.
I think you can actually run Jade on it.
Yeah.
So I think that Jade is an ESP30.
You're just going to have to change the keyboard bindings probably. You're good to go.
Yeah.
I mean, that is not the purpose, but it is pretty funny. You can get better hardware for those software stacks. Another interesting thing, it's nice to have Mr. Matt here, is that because this has limited resources, if you are running your own home server for your node, for a bunch of other crap, you could hard code for URL for it or some other way of accessing that, like have a full sovereign control of your stack, right? So you can maybe do your transaction coordination on this device, connect it to your Start9 node, and then use your COLDCARD to sign the transactions. My hope is that like we can, for the people who are the crazy ones, right, deprecate phones. It's like, fuck the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Phones are owned. Become a little bit more separated from that stuff.
So I'm trying to play catch up here because I'm not in the loop with what you guys are talking about.
It's all fair.
I know you have some new product coming, but I'm starting from zero, basically, very caught up in my own world right now. So are you suggesting that the hardware wallet itself would be able to reach out to the node over Tor in order to do broadcasting, transaction detection, and everything?
Yes and no. So it depends on what kind of software you want to run on this device, the SATSLINK device. You could run a transaction coordinator, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is essentially a client wallet, right? That has UTXO knowledge through your node. You can also run a whole wallet on it if you want. I mean, like, even though it does have a secure element, even though it is probably more secure than half the wallets out there, I would not recommend people using this as real money hardware wallet.
Well, like an example of what you could do, especially because I'm sure if you're buying one of these, you probably have a stack of other CoinKite paraphernalia littered around your house already. So a thing that you could do is you could run a COLDCARD in CK bunker mode and keep your keys in that and like plug that into your Start9. And then you've got this SATSLINK thing in your pocket. And when you want to make a transaction, it phones home to your server and says, hey, I want to do a transaction. Like, give me chain data. Your little SATSLINK assembles a transaction and then signs it off to the CK bunker for signing.
Why don't you just run CK bunker on it?
I mean, you could, but like this one, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, that's the thing, right? Like,
it hasn't shipped yet. I don't know.
Exactly. The other thing that, like, interesting use case I want to see people doing is like a Frost signer, right? Because it has like a lot more flexibility on that. I want to see people build, a Frost coordinator.
Mm-hmm. The guys that are doing the Frost hardware wallet, like Nick Farrow and all of them.
We're going to send them hardware.
Yeah, I think that they're using ESP32 for their project. So their firmware should work on this.
It's a cool little platform for you to not do mission critical security holding, right? Like, you put your private key in your COLDCARD. But like, if you want to do business logic that's reasonably secure with some maybe de-risk keys, this is a great platform for it.
So Matt, like on the VLS example, validating Lightning signer, like the idea is like right now, like Start9, if you're running a Lightning node, your keys are on the device, right? So if the device gets compromised, they're hot and you lose your funds. And we've kind of just passed that over, just hashtag reckless or whatever. In the VLS situation, the keys could be on the SATSLINK. And then you need to compromise both devices in order to steal the funds.
So the node is doing, pure connections and channel openings, but it's actually reaching out to the signer to request a signature. Isn't Blockstream doing something similar to this with like Blockstream Green?
Yeah, but it's a phone, right? That's the problem.
So Blockstream's actually
Greenlight.
Greenlight uses VLS, but it's not like a consumer product, right? It's not, they're doing an enterprise version of VLS. So is Breez SDK.
But I talked with Breez CEO.
Roy.
They're working on packaging Greenlight for StartOS so that you could self-host the signing thing.
Dope.
Nice.
Right. So that would be VLS would be on your Start9, and then the node would be on your phone.
Right.
And then so you separate it that way instead.
So it inverts it. It's actually inverting the whole relationship so that the keys are in your hand as opposed to on a server sitting somewhere that's vulnerable.
Exactly.
Yep.
So that should be coming at some point. I don't know how much progress they've made.
Yeah, and then, we get into the weird stuff that's going to happen soon where you're going to have threshold signatures for Lightning keys, for example, right? So it's going to be nice to have a device that can sign that remotely and on the go.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot there that needs to be explored still. We're so early in this stuff. That's why we wanted to make the device go DIY yourself a lot of those things. Hopefully with the secure element there, you can sort of have a little bit more assurances and you have a better source of entropy too.
Do you remember, this is like a complete tangent from SATSLINK because it doesn't sound like this device could handle it, but maybe I'm wrong. Do you remember before phones were a thing, there was AIM communicators and stuff?
Yes.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of cool if I just had a device that was my Nostr portal.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah, you can totally use this for that.
This is 50, 100,000 times more power than those devices had.
I could presumably just connect it to Wi-Fi and just do all my Nostr posts on the QWERTY.
Yeah, I mean, somebody could build a simplex client for it and do simplex without phones.
Well, and then the really full autism mode of this is that these things can do device to device radio.
Yes.
So you could actually run a Nostr relay on the device. And if you're at a conference, you can just do a mesh network of all these things talking to each other and just passing Nostr events between each other without actually hitting the internet. So you could just do local area Nostr off of this, which would be pretty fucking cool.
Yep.
This could end up being useful for us when we come out with some IoT devices.
Yeah.
Yes.
100%.
When people go to set up alternate devices in their home, rather than using the local Wi-Fi network, they could actually just be communicating directly with each other. It's different.
Well, and the ESP32 is a super common platform for IoT devices. That's what Esprif, I forgot what the name of the company is. That's what they target with this part. Espressif or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. And so there's a ton of libraries and tooling for ESP32. If you want to use AWS IoT service for MQTT and all that shit, it just works on ESP32. It's the right part for that kind of use case.
Yep.
So we're 25 minutes in, and I think we've covered one item on the list. I don't know if we want to.
Great. Okay, so next is a little bit of shitting on Raspberry Pis. As usual, we always have the vulnerability disclosures before the software updates, but after the housekeeping. So Deep-TEMPEST, a tempest learning method that recovers great quality images from unintentional electromagnetic EMF from HDMI. So Matt.
So I saw that post the other day from you. Quite frankly, didn't dig too deeply because it very much had to do with the hardware wallet world. And, we're not in that world as much.
Yeah, everybody eventually is a podcaster hardware wallet company.
Yeah. So our gripes with the Raspberry Pi, aside from any potential security vulnerabilities, have to do with simply resource and resource management. Those devices just aren't really meant to do the kinds of things that people are trying to make them do. They're trying to get an old car to be a rocket ship, and that doesn't work. So our thing is just stop using it and get a computer that is actually designed to be a server and not a child's tinkering toy. We partially solved the Raspberry Pi server problem with our Lite product, which we're still selling, but will be discontinued at some point as soon as we run out of inventory of Raspberry Pis, by removing the SSD. So if you don't plug in an external SSD via the USB port, the Pi is a lot better all of a sudden because it really does struggle to deliver power to the SSDs adequately. And that causes all sorts of weird under voltage problems and just weird data corruption crap. And so if you get rid of the SSD, It's just a low-powered computer that is actually quite reliable. This is all aside from the security implications of, what you were talking about the other day. But of course, if you're not using an SSD, then you are using the micro SD, which is inferior storage, is going to fail sooner. And so backups become increasingly important. And also storage size is greatly impacted, right? So we sell our light device with like either 128 or 256 gigabytes of high endurance flash storage, which will last you 4 to 5 years probably, but it's not going to store the whole chain, right? So if you're running a light server, you're definitely running a pruned node, which is perfectly fine, but it does limit some functionality in the terms of you can't run electrs, right? You're not going to be able to run an Electrum server. You're not going to be able to run mempool, but most of the rest of the Lightning stack will work. So long-winded, but they work, but we don't recommend them.
Well, I mean, it's a shitty computer that was designed to send to places in the world where people can't afford things. But funny enough, they chose to work with Broadcom. Broadcom is like the evil empire of microchips. I mean, they probably eat children, and then with the poop of it, they make the silicon to make the chips CPU, right? Like, I mean, those guys, like, you're essentially supporting one of the most evil corporations in the universe by using Raspberry Pis. Let's just start with that. And then there's the fact that it's all fully closed, right? I mean, like the firmware, like everything's a disaster. What people think it's the firmware running on the microSD is not the firmware. That is the OS running on top of a firmware, right?
Right.
So there's everything on the subsystems is all closed. So you have absolutely no clue what the fuck's going on under there. Every attempt to make that all open is like crap. It's not the right platform for it. What I don't get is why don't people just use like Banana Pi or some other stuff? Like, I mean, Rock 64, there's like many that are better.
Can I ask you a question? How did this happen? Was it Casa? Is this Jameson Lop's fault?
I think it starts before that. I think people wanted to run nodes, and I think our Pis were probably very cheap at the time.
Yeah, I mean, like when this all started, you can get a Raspberry Pi for $30.
Yeah.
Right. And like people had them around because, like it's a great little platform for if you want to build something to like control your lights or,
unreliably control your lights, right? Because it's Linux.
Yeah, right.
The Casa box was like particularly brutal because they didn't even fucking use an SSD.
Yes. But anyways, so the point is like, okay, fine. You decide to work with the evil empire. You decide to use this device. Now understand, it has no security whatsoever, right? Like I know maybe your threat model decides to not use security at all for some reason. Now you have a device that leaks RF everywhere, right? It's not shielded. That's how they save money. That's where Tempest comes in, right? Like we had this happen to all the hardware wallets many years ago. There was a researcher that came out and said, hey, I could steal your seeds by looking at your screens remotely through leaked RF, right? There was a CVE for it. It was not quite as, there was a little bit of disputing there between him and the projects, but at the end of the day, everybody won because this added noise and how the pixels are randomly now drawn on the screen resolved a lot of these problems, right? So if you're trying to read remotely, you can't see what's on screen, right? Because it's just going to look like gibberish. And, Trezor, COLDCARD, I think Ledger too, everybody had to upgrade their systems to fix this. And what was amazing to me is that, like, a lot of the newer hardware wallets, like, never sort of researched and figure out that, like, you kind of have to protect your screen. There's a lot of things we've learned in the last 13, 14 years of Bitcoin now. And if you're building devices that sign Bitcoin transactions and have keys and stuff, you really need to look back and catch up. That would be my advice. Anyways, this one was through HDMI. It's more complicated. The antenna was very close to the HDMI port. It's a little bit more out there kind of thing. Still possible, but I think it was just a great example of like, don't do this kind of example. Don't use Raspberry Pis for Bitcoin private key material handling. They're not good for that. I just hope people find better platforms.
Or I mean, just the general point, right, is like modern electronics have side channels.
Yes.
And you need to be aware of what side channels you have and how you can leak them and mitigate it, right? And one way to mitigate that is by obfuscating your display. Another one is by operating in a room that has Tempest shielding. Like, that's a thing to do. The government does that, right?
Yeah, they have Faraday tents.
Yeah.
By the way, there's a website that sells Faraday tents for the back seat of your car. So you can shield the back seat of your car. It looks like a police car inside so that you can go in there. I don't know, maybe do some private key material exchange. Or you can probably be a politician and murder some working ladies and nobody can film you. I don't know. It's very weird stuff. But yes, with that, we can finish the shitting on Raspberry Pi. Let's go Bitcoin Core quickly. Why not? This is excited.
Very exciting.
I can see that Rijndael is moist.
Yeah, pretty stoked.
Yeah, so Bitcoin Core has merged BIP 324, which is the P2P encrypted transport protocol, and also Assume UTXO, which is huge for lighter Bitcoin clients. Maybe Rijndael, do you want to do a little bit of commenting on those two?
Yeah, 324 is massive. The PR's been open for a while. I've been running a BIP 324 node for like 6 months or something at this point. What this is solving is normally if you are running Bitcoin Core, your node talks to a whole bunch of other Bitcoin nodes and they exchange transactions and they exchange blocks. And that is a plain text protocol that anybody between you and the other node can see that you're running Bitcoin, which can be problematic on its own just for like censorship reasons if you're ISP or if somebody else who can control those links decides that they don't want you running Bitcoin. It's trivial for them to detect that and drop the traffic. The other thing that's really interesting is that they could selectively drop traffic. So say that you're running a node and they just want to make sure that all payments that go to a particular address don't get propagated through the network. They could strategically drop just those transactions from being propagated. And you would actually have no idea because you're still getting other transactions and other blocks from your peer. So what 324 does is it adds opportunistic, unauthenticated encryption between nodes. So the idea is that if I'm running 324 and Odell is running 324 and our nodes talk to each other, they can be sending all their traffic through an encrypted channel that is indistinguishable from random noise. And it's not impossible for somebody to man in the middle, but what it does is it raises the cost. If my ISP wants to intercept that traffic, they have to basically run a Bitcoin full node.
Well, and there is more, right? Like, I mean, you can do this in different ways as well. So it's not just a single type of encryption looking thing. The packages can look at different sizes. They can be sort of like randomly mutated so that, it's not very easy to do the packet inspection and be intercepted.
Yeah, in this release, it's just kind of a random distribution of bytes, and they're using an encoding called, or a protocol called Alligator Swift, which means that even the handshake is encrypted. The way that it's set up in the future, we can do traffic shaping.
Yes.
So we can make it look like other protocols.
I thought it made it to this one. I guess it didn't.
Yeah, it hasn't been made yet.
Revert.
Yeah.
Revert commit.
The other thing I would add is, so that the attack you explained, I think is often is considered, it's like an Eclipse attack by ISPs. And we've seen that in practice. Coinbase got Eclipse attacked on Ethereum Classic. And I mean, part of the reason is because there's just not that many Ethereum Classic nodes in that situation. Like, I don't think ISPs were involved in that Eclipse attack, but you could see a situation where you could have major ISPs target a major economic node.
Well, I mean, they could just have an OFAC list, right? And if they see any transactions that are related to those addresses, like, it's just default, and they're like really low level routers, right?
There's also just like down market things, right? Like, the thing that this helps defeat is really dumb deep packet inspection, where it's just like running a filter against the traffic stream and just saying, if I see this protocol, I drop it. So, I mean, if you're in a dorm room, right, like your college ISP might just be like, nope, can't run Bitcoin, right? Or, if you're at a hotel, if you work in a corporation, like there's a lot of scenarios where people just have really, really dumb edge filtering, and this helps with that as well.
I stand corrected.
So that's 324.
Okay.
And then Assume UTXO is super exciting. So if you've ever installed Bitcoin Core, you install Bitcoin Core and you've got to wait, a couple hours on reasonable hardware, or 3 weeks if you're on a Raspberry Pi, to sync the entire chain from Genesis before you can really do anything with Bitcoin, before you can like receive Bitcoin and validate that you've gotten payment. And so what Assume UTXO does is it makes it so that you can load a UTXO snapshot into your node. So you like install Bitcoin Core, you immediately install like a snapshot from, a week ago or 2 weeks ago or a month ago or whatever. And you can now immediately receive Bitcoin and start using Bitcoin. And then in the background, your node can download and validate the whole blockchain from Genesis. So you can do that asynchronously. So it's still trustless, but you can start using Bitcoin immediately. And you don't have to have this like, okay, cool, I provision the hardware. Now I have to wait before I can actually do anything with it.
That's big for us.
Yep.
Yeah.
And for the people, like, you don't have to be worried, a fork in it or evil anything. This is all signed, right? Like, that's kind of the whole point of this.
Well, and again, like your node will still go and rebuild or reify the UTXO set from Genesis asynchronously. So, in the worst case, you might say, all right, I'm going to load this snapshot. And until my node is caught up, it's not as fully trustless as if I had synced it, but that's probably good enough for most people. And Bitcoin Core already ships. So by default, when you sync a node, when you IBD a node, there's a block height where anything before that block height, it doesn't actually validate any of the scripture signatures. It's called assume valid. And so you're already kind of trusting by default that everything that's more than, call it a year old, is good. You can turn that off if you want, but most people don't. And so, this is kind of taking that to the next step and saying, for most people, you can probably load a recent UTXO set snapshot and then asynchronously validate it and yell really loudly if anything's wrong.
This also helps from a Lightning standpoint too. When you're running a full, or at least for LND, the way LND on StartOS works is that you can install Bitcoin and begin sync, and then install LND, and StartOS is smart enough to look. That LND will look at Bitcoin and say, okay, you're not fully synced yet. So until you are fully synced, I'm going to run in neutrino mode. And once the sync completes, it actually flips over automatically to using your Bitcoin node under the hood and disables neutrino mode. The user can choose to disable this whole thing or use neutrino mode forever and never even install a Bitcoin node. But this is really nice because now if Bitcoin is installed and has assumed UTXO, and then the user wants to get up and running immediately with LND, we don't need to automatically enable neutrino mode anymore, right? It can use your full node locally, even though it's not synced. So it's just a little cleaner.
One thing I'm really looking forward to, U3XO.
Hell yeah.
That's a huge deal, right? Because you're going to have proofs, and that's really going to help the use case when, the blockchain is 3,000 years old and you don't have the time to verify since Genesis. I'm really looking forward to that.
So U3XO is you don't even keep the UTXO set.
That's right.
You just keep a commitment. And then there's zero sync, which is you don't IBD at all. You just get a UTXO set snapshot or that commitment, and then a proof that it's valid. And like the zero sync guys, they've got a full header chain proof that's like 1.5 kilobytes, and you can verify it on an iPhone in like 3 seconds.
So in that scenario, do you still download the chain and store it?
The purists will. I will be running a bunker coin in a bunker with physical copies of each block encrypted in rock.
If you want like the historic chain data, like I like to run an electRS server, I like to run a copy of mempool space.
Right.
So I will. But I think the dream is that you could basically have a fully validating node on your phone.
Okay.
Right?
So what this does ultimately is obviates pruned nodes. It's just a much better way to do a pruned node. It's like, look, you don't need the chain. You just need the valid state and to be able to validate if transactions are valid.
Yeah, you need to be able to validate from here forward.
Right.
You don't need to validate like the whole past.
Yeah, basically what this does is it kills pruned nodes. It's either run an archival node or use this no.
I think it kills prune nodes, and I think it also kills a bunch of other ways of doing light clients. Like instead of doing Electrum or instead of doing something that uses like Explora, maybe you would just run the full thing and just get blocks on your phone.
I mean, you could ask, right? You could ask.
Yeah.
Maybe there will be servers that will give you the block and you just check the proof, right? See, here's a cool thing that you could do maybe with this, which is I always wanted to have is you could maybe take the proof, take the UTXO list, put it on an SD card, bring it to your code card. The code card could then generate a transaction too. And sign it, and then you can put it out. You could remove the wallet from the equation here eventually, right? That's my sort of pie dream here.
That would be super cool.
Yeah. Hey, I have a quick question about the new Bitcoin sync thing real quick. Assume UTXO.
Sure.
Is Bitcoin Core going to ship with a default UTXO set at a certain time? Or is that something that Start9, for instance, is going to have to include with the downloaded package?
No, it's going to come with Bitcoin Core. It's already merged. I don't know if the default is on or off.
Well, okay. Well, the behavior is going to ship, I'm sure. I'm talking about the actual set. of UTXOs.
I think the goal is at some point it's going to ship with a snapshot. I don't know if that's going to be the next release or not.
Yeah, so we may need to include our own snapshot and sign it or something. Okay.
And there's a script that comes with Bitcoin Core. It's under the contrib directory to build a snapshot. So you can just like run the script, you pick a block height and it builds the snapshot from the block height. And what's great is it's going to be consistent across nodes. So you can like throw that shit in BitTorrent if you want.
How big is it? It's going to be like 5 gigs?
Yeah, it's the size of a UTXO set, so it's like 5 gigs.
That's going to make the download time for Bitcoin huge. Can you get it post? Okay, never mind. We'll dig in. We'll make the UX clean. I clearly have some things to go research.
Talk to James OB. He like wrote all the SimUTXO stuff, and he probably has ideas about deployment.
Cool.
Next. Hey, Matt, do you want to read the StartOS update? I'll do the list in disorder.
Okay. Start9 has determined to package and maintain and support and recommend a core set of services that we think are good and that people could benefit from running on their own server. Obviously, we can't support every service under the moon and, package them ourselves. And that's just not a scalable thing. But we've selected, especially in the early days, we want people to have a core set of services that they feel comfortable installing, that are going to work really well, that we actually support the upstream service, meaning we understand it enough as a team that we can actually do those teams' support, right? Like if someone comes in and is just like, how do I use LND? We could just be like, well, go talk to the Lightning Labs team, but we don't want to just kick people down the road. We try to provide support. So we added 2 new services. We have determined to support 2 new services, at least for now, in the form of one is Free GPT. This is our own naming. Free GPT does not exist in the upstream world. We chose that name because we thought it was better than the name of the open source project that actually built the service. They know that we did this. We told them we were going to do it. We said, hey, why don't you change your name to something a little bit more relatable? They didn't want to. The name of the upstream service is actually called Surge Chat.
Free is better.
It's pronounced Serge Chat. It's a French thing. So we just imagined ourselves trying to get people to say it Serge Chat. And we decided we couldn't do it. So, but it's just a UI, right? It's a server in that it stores the models. It keeps the models locally and is responsible for, loading them into RAM and running the queries against them. But ultimately, the way it expresses to the user is just a chat GPT style GUI that is being served. The website for it is being served from your own server. You can browse models to download from Hugging Face right through the GUI. So you don't need to go off and download stuff and then re-upload it. You just go into the GUI. There's a drop down of models. Those models are tailored to the hardware of your device. So we will not show you 30 billion parameter models if you're running a device that has 8 gigabytes of RAM. You're only going to see models that are actually going to run. This prevents people from just having a bad time and crashing.
Matt, the real question is, can people create good porn pictures? That's the threshold, I think, that people want.
That's stable diffusion, and we're not there yet.
Okay.
I'm just talking about the how to make a bomb, uncensored chat GPT stuff right now.
Okay, I see.
Not that anyone should do that. I'm just...
A chocolate bomb.
Yes, correct. But yeah, you download the models that you want. We can curate those lists on the fly. So without even doing another service update, Start9 has the ability, or anyone really has the ability to open a PR to the list of models repo and be like, hey, I found this new great model. It's better and less censored and more capable than these other models. Add it to the list. And then everyone in the world who's running a StartOS server with FreeGPT installed can now just click a button, download that model, and be up and running with it in a matter of minutes in a way that is going to actually work on their device.
I really like that, by the way. I've been using LM Studio on my Mac or whatever, and it just gives me so many models. I have to do so much research on what is the best model, and then most of it doesn't even run on my hardware, right? Then you have to choose after that. So the simple idea of curating it based on hardware specs is fucking huge.
I'm actually convinced that all this AI, run your home AIs are a psyop to make sure everybody just wastes their days trying to make funny pictures, not actually do any work. Guilty.
Yeah, I definitely explored the boundaries of these things myself when we were curating the models and, trying to develop a positive user experience. because I just wanted to know really what the boundaries are, right? Like what is being censored on ChatGPT and Midjourney? And unless you try to push those boundaries, you don't know. I promise I'm not a horrible person. The things I was asking for was for experimental purposes only because I want to understand the technology. So,
like critical race theory?
I asked it a few questions. I just want to understand what the truth is. So yeah, FreeGPT, aka Serge Chat, is available on StartOS and maintained by the Start9 team. The second one that we did is Stable Diffusion, which we did not need to change the name of because Stable Diffusion is not an app. Stable Diffusion is a whole way of generating images, and there's lots of GUIs for it. So we went out and selected a GUI that worked really well. It's actually a fork of the automatic 1111 thing, which is based on, I forget the name of the library, some other thing that everyone uses for image generation. So it's all derivatives of derivatives. And ultimately, we found one that we thought was really well designed. And we then went in and hacked the UI to hide certain advanced features that would cause you to have a bad time on pretty much any hardware that's not an NVIDIA GPU. So, for instance, you can't increase the aspect ratio of photos. You cannot increase the batch sizes. It's always going to create one, because the second you start trying to make larger images and do 4 of them at a time, you're just going to run out of RAM. It's not going to work. You're going to crash your system, again, unless you have really powerful custom hardware. So we designed Stable Diffusion in such a way that a normal person who doesn't understand any of it, click install, and can discover additional models. Unlike FreeGPT, you can't download and discover new models within the GUI. You have to go to some site that offers models, and we have instructions for this, and find a model that you like, download it, and then upload it to your server, which is very fast because it's done over the LAN. And then you can enter text to image prompts and generate anything you want. And it works really well. We, on our Pure device, which is reasonably powered device, it's nothing crazy. It's 32 gigs of RAM. It's got an i7 in it, but not a super modern chip. It's not incredibly powerful. And we can generate an image in about 3 minutes. So, if you're willing to wait 3 minutes, it works really reliably and well. But that's about as good as it's going to get until you start implementing real AI acceleration hardware on the client.
Cool. That's a nice update.
Yeah.
It's, for people that don't know, it's a very Bitcoin-oriented project. There is a lot of Bitcoin things there that you can do, like Node, Lightning, and other things. So keep an eye for StartOS on Start9. All right, so moving on, COLDCARD version 5.2.0 should be dropping in a few hours. Of course, we didn't make it to our own, but we're going to make it for our HR. So this is a biggie. It has this new feature we're calling Seed Vault. We're making COLDCARD into a key management kind of solution, right? Like kind of like a keychain for signing, right? In addition to your master secret, right, which is part of how COLDCARD gets its security, you can now store other seeds. Before you could load them to sign, now you can load them to sign or store them as well. So if you want to store a few seeds and, do your signing, great. Maybe you have grandma's seed on your COLDCARD, and you don't want it to be part of BIP85 or something deterministic. You can do those. What's really cool is that you can now generate more seeds for your own self too that are not BIP85. So for example, you can take it from the RNG, from dice rolls, SeedXOR parts. So if you want to take part A and part B and store it as separate seeds.
What's the backup story for this look like?
Well, it really was simple, right? I really wanted to store backups of TAPSIGNERs that I was using for testing. So, I wanted to load an encrypted TAPSIGNER backup, decrypted on COLDCARD, so it never touches a computer. And then I wanted to actually use that to sign transactions as well. So we decided to generalize this so you can do this to anything, and you can do all the operations you would on it. And then there's another feature coming that's not part of this release, that's really the cherry on top of all this, which is called deposit mode. So you can have a COLDCARD that doesn't have seeds on it, right? It just has the XPubs. So you can keep it on your desk to verify addresses that you're sending money to, but you don't have your secret around you because nobody should have seeds around them, right? Like ideally not even encrypted.
Yeah.
So now what you can do is you can load a seed, whichever seed that is, on that COLDCARD, store it, create a deposit mode only, and then delete the seeds if you want to. It's about options, right? I don't think you should have all your seeds that are important to you on the same code card. Still separate them, geographically separate them, but for in purpose of like operational, right? So having multiple business seeds that are like lower amounts or whatever, like this is great.
Yeah.
MBK, so just to pull it back on the importing external seeds into it to hold on the cold card. First, with the TAPSIGNER situation, I assume I'm just tapping it on it's just transferring through NFC. I'm just tapping it on the cold card.
No, cold card cannot be NFC host.
So then how am I doing it without a computer?
Yeah, you're right. Sorry. You're not decrypting on the computer.
Got it.
You're getting the encrypted blob out of the TAPSIGNER, and then you put that.
Encrypted blob goes to the computer, then goes to the cold card, and then gets decrypted.
Yeah.
That's right.
And then the other part is obviously like a seed backup isn't going to restore these, but I assume it's backed up on if you do the micro SD backup. So
that's correct.
If I do a bunch of gift TAPSIGNERs, I keep it on the cold card, then I do a micro SD backup, and all my gifts are all backed up.
That's right. So it's the micro SD backup now that is, properly encrypted as well. It's pretty hard, right? Does contain now all those secrets if you want.
Got it. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Looking at this and thinking forward into the future, the obvious question is when Codex 32? Because the end game for all of this is paper vowels.
Yeah. I love that project. I think there's going to be like 3 to 4 people using it, unfortunately, because that's why I already didn't like Shamir's secret sharing for seed backups. I am a proponent of the seed XOR for that.
Mm-hmm.
Because when it comes to seeds, I really want simplicity, and I want to be able to do that with pen and paper, realistically, right? Like you can't do the Volvo recovery with just paper, if I remember right.
So you can do the recovery. What you can't do is if there's error correction.
Yes.
You have to have a computer for that.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's just too complicated.
Yeah.
But it's not to say that you couldn't do the Codex 32 on SATSLINK,
mm-hmm.
or maybe run your own fork of CodeCard, or maybe we put it on the edge firmware. We're not opposed to it. We kind of love the idea. It's as nerdy as we are. I feel like we kind of have already so much shit on CodeCard that people are going to kind of lose their minds. That's sort of like the balance there. We're trying to figure out maybe creating a noob mode versus a Galaxy Brain mode for CodeCard, where we essentially hide almost everything,
mm-hmm.
versus have all the stuff there. Most of the stuff is all buried in the settings on purpose, right?
Right.
Already as is.
Yeah, but you should still have a noob mode. I like that idea because people, for whatever reason, just the fact that it has the capabilities, they overwhelm themselves, even though they can use ColdCard just by simply plugging it in via USB like they would any other hardware wallet.
Do you know what I need, Matt? I need a list of things that this is on noob mode, this is not on noob mode.
Mm-hmm.
Send me a list, because I am just too sort of I can't move that far into the educator sort of world. Because in my mind, it's going to be hard to say no to some things. So I'm the wrong person. I need somebody who's very empathetic to the noob mindset and sort of make me a list. And I've been pushing this internally for us to work on this at some point. Because Q1, I want to hide a lot of text as well for some of the people. Right. So this is for Mr. Chow. Andrew Chow has been working very hard on PSBT V2s. So we figured we implemented and add support to it. So there it is. PSBT V2. Yay!
Hey.
Yay! And this is on main release, not just Edge, right? So you can go use it. A thought occurred to me the other day. I really think that maybe you could do anti-klepto back and forth using a PSBT V2 field. Because right now...
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, because right now, the way anti-klepto works is worse than having it. The idea of using USB to back and forth is absurd to me, because you're essentially breaking air gap to add something that is completely insane,
mm-hmm.
that you can prove you're not doing by looking at the source code.
Well, you're introducing a more likely vulnerability to mitigate a less likely vulnerability.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, people need to understand that, you can still check the source code and prove that the device is not creating leaking nonsense, right? So it's one of those things, right? Point is, air gap is better than anti-klepto if I have to pick one. Maybe somebody creates a PSBT V2 standard for anti-klepto, so you can do then nonce back and forth using PSBT V2s, and the wallets like the software wallets, do essentially the contract, right? And it's all standardized. So it's not like just like each vendor doing anti-clapto however they figure out they want to do, which is also terrible. So yeah, I guess it's kind of cool. We were the first people to have PSPTs in hardware wallets, and now PSPT V2s. I think we're the first. I don't know. Don't really care, but kind of fun. Lockdown Seed now works with ephemeral secrets. So now you can merge your loaded seed with a passphrase and store it if you want as a master secret. So essentially you can do all the permutations and choose if they're ephemeral or if they're deleted or if they're stored. BIP39 passphrase can now be added to any word-based ephemeral seed. That's part of that. The ability to back up BIP39 phrase wallets.
Why are you calling them ephemeral seeds? Isn't ephemeral like is gone after you shut off the device?
Yeah, it's read-only seeds.
Yeah, but it's like you can store ephemeral seeds? Like, isn't that...
I don't have a better word, man. I ran out of terms.
They're no longer ephemeral.
I ran out of terms. Like, should we call it the make temporary seeds non-temporary? Would that be less confusing? I don't know, man. We can rename all this crap later on, but I still, like, I don't have a good way that it's like...
Temporary but persistent seeds.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Convert temporary seeds into permanent seeds. I don't know. Because the ephemerals, you can delete them and then you can add them again. I don't know. Come up with something better and then tell me. Like that list. Better even make a PR. All right. So next is Trident. Trident launched the testnet open beta of Trident Vaults. That's really cool.
It's exciting.
Yeah, Rob is working hard on this. They're trying a bunch of mini script. Their Tim script. Trying a bunch of mini script stuff for corporate custody.
Well, and so now there are 2 mini script based wallets out in the wild, which is pretty cool.
Sorry, quick break here. Matt, I know you have to leave early, so like you let me know if you need to leave at any point. Just make something and
a grand gesture.
A grand gesture, and we can always we phase people out if they need to go.
All I asked is how long this is going to go so that I could plan my day.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I got confused.
When I get sufficiently bored, I will leave.
Okay.
But this is great.
Matt's like, sorry, I'm driving through a tunnel.
That's right.
Yeah. To be honest, a lot of this discussion is stuff I don't know. I don't keep up with Bitcoin development.
That's the point of this.
Wait, you don't listen to the Bitcoin.review podcast?
I can't. It is a full-time job, and I already have a couple of those. So, yeah. I'm happy to be here because I'm learning something.
Yeah, the whole point of the list episodes is that nobody has time to keep up with all of this. And so we're going to talk through it.
You know what's wild, though, is that NVK over there and COLDCARD and CoinKite teams are not only keeping up with Bitcoin development, they're productizing it before anyone understands what the words mean and slamming it into their existing product. And I think Matt was right earlier. I don't even know what a COLDCARD is anymore. Right? What is that thing? What can it do?
It's a Bitcoin machine. That's all you need to know.
I'm compared to an average just Joe pleb from the world, I know a lot about Bitcoin. I have no idea what you're talking about.
That's great. We're succeeding, Rijndael. This is the goal of this pod. This pod...
You guys are way out there. You're
This pod is not for normies. This is for the people who want to get into log releases, right?
The average person out there that we're hoping to bring into this ecosystem over the next few years is struggling to understand what an address is, right? They, rewind 10 years and that's where the vast majority of the population is right now. It's they're just trying to get some Bitcoin and
they don't understand that their money doesn't exist in the bank, man. Well,
yeah, the philosophy and economics behind all of it too is a whole other rabbit hole, as we all know. That we've all sufficiently spiraled down. But just the idea of, okay, what do I do? Can I get some Bitcoin? Where do I put it so that it's safe? Is basically where most people are living, right? Everything else is just nerd stuff. And eventually, it's not going to be.
For that, they can listen to Livera. They can listen to Matt. They can listen to...
That's right. No, that's why I said I'm happy to be here, is because...
This is for the people who are committed. They're probably making commits right now as they listen to this.
Mm-hmm.
Good. It's impressive.
Yeah, the first half of this episode, while I looked busy, it's because I was finishing like a database migration.
That's right.
Right? Like while we were talking.
YOLO!
Yeah.
Migrate. In production.
All right.
Real man migrate databases in production.
That's right.
So we talked about Trident. Specter Desktop version 2.0.2 feature enable import of multi-sig wallet that uses multi-descriptor. Feature implement automatic wallet import via Specter URI for macOS. Bug fixes and chores.
Oh, that's cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know. Every once in a while, there's like one of these little things that's in the middle of release notes that just makes me really happy. So a while ago, I've spent a lot of time thinking about inheritance for Bitcoin stuff. And like, if you have a big complicated multi-sig setup, first of all, if you have a big complicated multi-sig setup, stop and go make it simpler and like follow best practices so that you don't send your family on some national treasure hunt like when they're grieving.
Yes.
But like one of the things that that I thought was a good piece of advice from the crypto asset inheritance planning book was like, write a letter to your family and tell them, you know, hey, I got hit by a bus. Like, here's how you go and get our Bitcoin. So I sat down. I mean, I've lost all my Bitcoin by now, but like when I still had non-testnet sats, I sat down.
No, you use BS.
Yeah. I sat down and like wrote one of these things, right? And it's like, okay, download this software, and here's how you get the descriptors into the software. And if you could just give somebody like a URI and say, install this app and then double click this link, and now like the wallet works, that's huge. That's huge for like backups. That's really big for helping people like get to your wallet if you need to. Making it easier to import wallet metadata is something that I think people don't really pay a lot of attention to.
You know, the name of the file is going to be Naked Britney Spears, and it's going to be a virus that takes all the coin, right? Like, yeah, 100%.
The Swan guys acquired Specter maybe 8 months back. They kept the project open source, but like it was an acqui-hire. They took the team in. And I believe they're trying to release something called Swan Vault. This is not based on any proprietary information. This is just public.
Sure.
That is presumably like a collaborative custody offering. And I could see how this could be a key point in that offering.
Wait, isn't it going to be just a letter to Fortress? Please give me my coins.
Well, I mean, like that makes sense, right? Because like what they could do is, and I have no idea what they're doing, but you can imagine they could have some web UI where you configure your vault, and then they spit out a URI and you click on it, and if you have Specter installed, then like it imports the wallet into Specter. That's probably what this is for.
Exactly.
Yes.
It makes the setup way cleaner on their side.
Another reason why maybe passphrase, single sig plus passphrase for most people at this space and time, with just like a derivation path number, right? Like could goes a long way. Here's this metal plate, you know, just load in this wallet software, funds will probably show up. And then, you know, because guys, like these things are going to get easier. And I really think that everything we understand as multi-sig at this point in time is going to be fully deprecated. I don't think we're going to be using multi-sig as we have now in the next 5 years even.
No, I mean, it's all going to move to like Frost music, like Schnorr shenanigans, right? Like it's
going to be a word. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Rob, but script-based multi-sig is dying.
It's going to be a lot simpler. There's going to be a lot more jargon, but it's going to be a lot simpler. You're going to be able to even roast your lawyer out of your Schnorr signature.
That's right.
That was a nice one. So go listen to the Frost episode if you want to understand what the fuck we're talking about. All right, Blockstream Green, iOS version 4.0.13. Enables signing address with hardware wallet, URI schema, and deep link support. Blockstream guys, when PSBT support on Blockstream Green. I can't recommend until that's in there. BTC Pay Server version 1.11.5. Reporting ad payouts, wallet delete custom labels, and a bunch of other stuff. Jam version 0.1.6. Salubrious Seeds. Nice. It's like
solid release name.
It's like one step better than Ephemeral.
Yeah.
You can import an existing wallet. Fee estimation and limits are now shown before sending. Collaborative transactions, frozen balances are now shown at the jar level, and languages. Do you guys use this project?
So one thing I wanted to mention with Jam. So Jam is this idea of creating a easy to use web UI for join market. So you could run it on like a Start9 or an Umbrel or something like that, which is a really cool project because, one of the major trade-offs of join market historically has been it's difficult for the average person to use. The only GUI they have is on Windows. And I mean, like, if you care about Bitcoin privacy, you probably shouldn't be running on Windows. Raspberry Blitz made a lot of progress on join market usability, but this was to like make it a little bit more mainstream and user-friendly. There was a bounty for this as a concept before it even existed. And we raised there was like a half Bitcoin, I think, was raised. And it's been sitting in a multi-sig. HRF was involved with it. The join market contributors decided they're going to give that bounty to the OpenSats General Fund. So I just wanted to shout them out for that.
Nice.
That's great.
Pretty admirable.
It's also tax deductible.
What's cool about Jam, so in join market, there's this idea of mixed depths. So what they do is from your seed, so like in a normal post BIP 44 seed, there's a bunch of like fields in the derivation path. And one of those fields is for an account number. Like on your COLDCARD, you can like change account numbers to get different addresses with the same seed. What join market does is they use it's like 5 different account numbers to represent different levels of mixing after you've done coin joins. So like money that you deposit into your wallet goes into account 0. And then after it's been coin joined once, it lands in like account 1. And then after it's been coin joined twice, it lands in account 2. And so the idea is that if you want to spend out of your join market wallet, you can say like, oh, I want to go from mixed depth 3, and it won't like mix and match coins that have had different numbers of rounds of coin joins happen. So what Jam does that's really cool is they visualize this by having a bunch of like jars of jam. Like they have like apricot jam and like cherry jam, and your money goes into the jars. And then as you're doing join market coin joins, like it moves between the jars. And it's a nice way of kind of making it intuitive that, hey, I want to spend sats. I only want to take it from one jar and I don't want the flavors to mix. It's like kind of cute. And then they've done a good job around the UI where like there's a button that says, I think it's like earn. And you click on that and you just say, I want to earn with my Bitcoin. And what it's doing is you are being a join market market maker, and you're providing liquidity for coin joins. But instead of having you deal with like all of the language and complexity around being like a join market market maker, they just say like, you are earning on your Bitcoin.
They should have called it yield, Bitcoin yield.
Yeah, right.
It's another yield product. People would flock to it. All of a sudden, join market would be like, like the biggest pool liquidity. Even the shitcoiners would come for some Bitcoin yield.
Would you remember the likely illegal meme? It was because Dan Held had like this full thread on different ways to generate Bitcoin yield, and he listed one. He was like, "Oh, you could provide join market liquidity," and then did parentheses likely illegal. That was
nice.
So I can testify this is a fan favorite for StartOS.
Oh, cool.
And we have people who have no idea how any of this works and should not be doing stuff like this and are doing it successfully.
Amazing. That's how you know you're winning.
That's right.
You shouldn't be doing, and you have no idea what you're doing, but you're doing it successfully.
The jar analogy and everything does work for people. So yeah, I mean, it's, you can be up and running with Jam in a matter of minutes, and joining and market making equally as quick, and everything is done over Tor. So there is no ClearNet support for Jam or anything like that. So your node is
amazing. The Bitcoin company integrated Auth47 Paynim accounts to their thing, to their app. That's very cool. Now there is, I think, 3 implementations of Paynim, Samurai, Sparrow, and Bitcoin Company.
And this one, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yep, just in time to be replaced by Nostr.
Or silent payments.
Silent payments
is going to be interesting.
It's cool. It's cool to see people adopting stuff. In Bitcoin, I always feel like it is weird and it should not be used unless there is more than one implementation doing the same thing. Otherwise, it's not a standard. It's just like an island. This is very nice. It took literally forever. But like now there's 3 implementations of Paynim. So the Mutiny guys are doing Nostr as the way to request and send money, right? For Lightning. While Paynim is on-chain, is base layer.
So, I had a very wonderful talk with Evgeny the other day, who is the founder and developer of SimpleX.
Great guy.
Really, really a special person. I think SimpleX could end up being a better solution than Nostr for a lot of this stuff.
Here's the cool thing. I've connected Fiat Jeff with Evgeny.
Oh, God.
And we all think that Simplex protocol could be the transport for Nostr DMs.
Oh, that would be great.
Problem resolved. Boom. Yay. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, SimpleX is, the Nostr is identified, right?
Yeah.
Pseudonymous, but you are your pub key.
Yeah.
SimpleX, there's nothing. Every single interaction you have, you're a different identity by default. You don't even need to think about that. It is a way to do information exchange completely anonymously. And man, it is a well-architected piece of software. I am in love with SimpleX. It's probably my favorite project in the world right now, aside from Bitcoin. It's amazing.
The biggest challenge for SimpleX is the coordination, right? Because again, everything is ephemeral there, right?
Correct.
So, they have Tor, but it gracefully degrades to DNS, and so but here's the cool thing, right? You can use Nostr DMs now in a way to do the handshake, right?
Yeah.
And now you can send those anonymous DMs with forward privacy.
Well, check this out. So SimpleX, right? You need to do ID verification out of band, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I need to scan your QR code to know that it's you I'm talking to, and then we're good from there out. So it's that initial root of trust that is the problem. Well, here's what did you pronounce his name Evgeny? Evgeny, I'm sorry. Evgeny. I pronounced it.
Wait. MVK probably doesn't pronounce it correctly.
No. I'm almost sure it's Evgeny. I somebody gave me that pronunciation with as that person on the space always put it, it's an alternative voice in the space have given me that.
Well, I should have just asked him. We had a nice long conversation, but check this out.
I mean, Nims. If you make a Nim that's hard to pronounce, that's on you.
Yes,
that's his name.
I have no idea what that's like.
Do we know?
No, but never mind. I don't want to say. Here's what he was throwing out as an idea is that Nostr, because it's identified and verified potentially against existing ClearNet domains, right? If you choose to do that, SimpleX can actually use Nostr as an identity layer so that you can exchange SimpleX pub keys through Nostr and have some degree of assurance that you're talking to the person you think you're talking to, because Nostr has performed the identity. So SimpleX SimpleX views the identity thing as a module, as an add-on, as a layer on top of SimpleX. SimpleX is actually lower than Nostr in a sense, right? It's not meant for pub sub. It's meant for trusted interaction amongst different closed circles of groups, either DM or group chats. And what's coming big, I think they're moving in the direction of community management. So you'll be able to, instead of just having like an independent group chat, you'll be able to form a organization or community and then have multiple chats within that are permissioned and all the rest. So SimpleX is going like full-blown, full-scale messaging solution, but at no step abandoning the base privacy and anonymity guarantees. And they accomplish that by using this incredibly novel, but also very obvious architecture, which is relegating servers to simple relays and queues, which is exactly what Nostr did, right? Like that was the huge genius breakthrough of Nostr, was just that it's like, don't store shit on the server, right? Maybe some history, but they're just relays. They're just there for availability's sake. The clients have all the power. And it's the same thing in SimpleX. The client has all the power, which is just brilliant. You just need to find increasingly simple ways to back up clients, so that you don't lose all your stuff. But that's a fine problem to solve. That's not a big deal.
I mean, my favorite thing is that IDs are disposable, so you can always create a new one, and it's just pretty awesome.
So anyway, there's my SimpleX plug.
Yeah.
I love the project, and we have first class support for it at Start9.
It doesn't run on SGX, so we don't have to worry about being fully backdoored. Fully backdoored as a service is the new Intel motto for SGX.
Ugh.
It's amazing to me that people use that. Anyways, Krux, version 23.09.0. Better indicator, new mnemonic from camera, and a bunch of other little updates. This is a little project that it took some interest recently. It seems to be another sort of like a read-only, low amounts of money, kind of like a Bitcoin signer. It's like an OS kind of thing. But this one runs on ESP32. It could run on something else as well as Python. What's cool about this one is that they seem to be putting a little bit more sort of like effort and thought on security, which is kind of nice. I think it's like quite a few of the maintainers are Brazilians, which is always fun to see. They have an active Telegram and an active GitHub repo. I did suggest that they apply for an open SATS grant. Who knows? Maybe their application is solid. But anyways, it seems to be going on an interesting direction. I think there is very good room for something like this, and it's fully open source. Very, very cool. Have you guys heard of Krux?
I've seen it. I haven't played with it yet or dug into the repo at all. But I mean, more people iterating on signers and trying to figure out like the right primitives and stuff. One thing that was really cool, I think this is the project that they're adding support for like receipt printers, like the heat printers.
Yeah, that's what they did. That's exactly what they did.
Yeah, cool. Like stuff like that is just fun.
It's funny how everything goes around. We used to print those way back then, 10 plus years ago, and they come back. Key pairs are powerful. Key pairs are very powerful.
Those prints, do not rely on those prints to last the test of time.
Don't rely on them to last more than a day in your car, right? Like
that's right. If there is heat or sun, it's gone. And even the archival ones are, because remember, the same process that makes the print is the process that destroys the print.
I mean, I think what could be cool for it is, people are playing with I forgot who it was, but somebody was doing printed out cashew vouchers. So like maybe like an eCash thing, like that could be kind of cool. I don't know. I think that there's lots of cool use cases for like short-lived, if you want to do, your own Azteco clone, like homebrew for your meetup or something. I think stuff like that's really cool.
Yeah, it's another funny thing is, actually, you know what? You could use Mutiny's new gift wrapped LN URL stuff, like their new way of gifting Lightning. That's a URL encrypted, not encrypted, converted to QR and call it as QR is really cool. But more than that, like the main issue in this whole thing is that like printers are, I think, like the least secure devices that are the most connected devices in your house. Like it's absolutely disgusting. Like what goes on in a printer in terms of like security and everything else. They are like a backdoor into your house's like network. It's really bad. So, traditionally, like you can't use them. So what people do is you get this sort of like very dumb thermal printers to do this kind of stuff because simpler module and everything else have a little bit more control. But thermal is a problem too. So like, I really wish we had like a more clever printing technology that was like dumber, that you could use for Bitcoin private keys. Maybe we get there at some point. The incentives are there. Talking about unsecure devices, Trezor version 23.9.3. Simplified Bitcoin only firmware user interface, independent coin join account discovery, clear distinguishing between official and community languages, Hungarian and Italian community languages added. I'm sure Odell has comments about their CoinJoin features.
No, I completely lost track of where we were, to be honest.
Trezor Suite.
I haven't used it. I uses Wasabi in the back end. Wasabi 2.0.
So Wasabi does send things to chain analysis on the input, right?
Yeah, that input, they do a blacklist. They pay a fee to a chain surveillance company. We don't know which company, and if one of the inputs doesn't like hits a red flag or something, they don't allow it to join a coin join. The interesting thing about the Trezor thing to me goes back to SATSLINK and VLS and CK Bunker. like as someone who relies on using CoinJoin, it's another situation where I have hotkeys, right? And the Trezor idea is it's kind of like a half step towards it, because it's cool that you can plug in a Trezor and the keys stay on the Trezor and the Trezor's signing it on the fly. But at the same time, it's like, okay, so then my computer's open on my desk and I got my Trezor there without a secure element that you can just pull the seed off of that. It would be nice to have that kind of situation with a secure element device that's actually adds, to the threat. I guess it helps you if your main computer is compromised. But it doesn't help you if there's a physical compromise.
I think I just wanted to comment on something on the chain analysis thing. Like my thinking was like, I totally understand why Wasabi would do that, because you don't want to go to jail and still run the company. But at the same time, like I don't think I can support something that supports chain analysis companies. Like I just really can't. Like it crosses a line that, like, I think their CoinJoin is great. I think their wallet is great. I think it comes out like fully anonymized, but the idea of supporting chain analysis concept and companies, I just can't.
But what the major issue with that as a narrative to me is that to this day you still cannot in the GUI easily switch coordinators, right? There's two different choices. There's two different aspects here, right? You have Wasabi, the open source project, the client that you're running on your computer, and then you have a coordinator that Wasabi makes their money. ZK Snacks makes their money off of running this coordinator, and they're getting your CoinJoin fees, and they're giving some of those fees to chain surveillance. And we've heard multiple times that they said this is the risk of running a coordinator. You can run your own coordinator. Like they had Krux added to BTC Pay Server, so it's relatively easy to run your own coordinator through it. But the actual Wasabi software, you still cannot easily switch the coordinator.
Yeah, I mean, at least now you don't have to. Yeah, I mean, on the Samurai side, you don't have to use the Macaroni wallet. You can use now Sparrow.
Well, and I think that you can now run a Whirlpool coordinator somehow, but I don't know if anybody's actually doing that. And, for CoinJoins, like liquidity matters, right? So I wonder how much it's actually going to matter.
They supposedly non-proprietary information.
Yeah.
They've supposedly alluded to this fact that not only are people going to be able to run their own coordinators, that they've somehow figured out a way to keep the liquidity pool intact. They have not released anything. They're calling it distributed coordinators or something.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
But all these, both Samurai and Wasabi, when you have a centralized coordinator, to all the haters out there against me and my mempool's belief, if you have a centralized coordinator and fees are low, mining transaction fees are low, the only Sybil protection mechanism is the CoinJoin fee that is paid to the coordinator. So coordinators can Sybil attack you in a low fee environment. In a high fee environment, they have to pay miner fees to miners, and there's a cost to Sybil attacking you. But the cost of Sybil attack in a centralized coordinator situation is negligible. And so as a result, when you're using these centralized coordinated services, you have to realize that there is a trust in that coordinator.
So the solution is use join markets.
Yeah, even if they have to pay mining fees, if you have a well-funded adversary that isn't trying to make Bitcoin, they're trying to dox you, then it's well worth it to pay those mining fees. Also, by the way, Matt, in your defense, the mempool has not cleared yet. So
I know, they're purging Catan's transactions again. All the 1 sat per bytes just got purged from average mempools.
Shit. I hope I got one in a few days ago. I haven't checked. Like people who are in the 1 sat byte train, which I think I predate Catan, by the way, you set them and you literally forget them. Like, you don't even check. Like, you just assume that one day is going to get back in and you just have another rebroadcast them if they drop.
Well, I just launched my BRC20 Sophon last night that blocks BRC20 token issuances, and it's finding all these 1 sat per VByte shitcoins and front running them. So good to see low fees.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the whole dick butt JPEGs are dying. So look at that. Economics has a way of fixing things.
Who knew?
Remember when people wanted to change Bitcoin over it?
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, it turns out Bitcoin's economics actually work. So,
Yes.
maybe we should just let them work.
Simple Bitcoin wallet version 2.5.4 and 0.2. Send from multiple attached wallets once. Attach BIP39 wallet by typing in their mnemonic passphrase. Samurai Dojo version 1.21.0. $1 fee estimator has been included into Dojo.
What is that?
No idea.
I don't use what's a $1 fee estimator? Does anybody know?
Nope.
Okay.
Peach version 0.3.1. New payment methods added. Brazil added its currency. Signing your address is now also compatible with Samurai Wallet. RBF upgrades. Switch to mempool.space for network fee estimation. Nice. Oh, it published the API.
Oh, that's great.
Cool. Good work, staff. Project Spotlight. Sustainable Bitcoin mining company MegaWatt. Oh, yeah. So these guys, out of nowhere, it's kind of cool. They added TAPSIGNER as their two-factor authentication, and they did it in a very interesting way. So you can just tap the TAPSIGNER to the phone to authenticate into their app. And it's kind of nice to see that people use the the TAPSIGNER protocol without asking us anything.
The MegaWatt guys are the real deal. They're great guys.
So yeah, this is something that like I wish. So this was like something that was starting to happen way back in the day and kind of died down. And now it's maybe coming back. Is why have multiple crypto primitives to do authentication, and why not use the most secure crypto library in the universe, which is libsec? Let's use Bitcoin Message Digest to do authentication. You don't have to use all the other crap. And anyways, this takes advantage of that. I find this super cool. Building a community members only card with SATSCHIP for all Julio collectors. Each card has a Bitcoin private key. I think this is kind of like an NFT kind of thing, but like a real physical. There's a link there. They're using SATSCHIP to essentially.
Yeah, there have been 2 projects that have done this. So I think I actually did the first one of these, of like taking an ordinal inscription and I burned it to a SATS chip, and then I put that SATS chip inside the frame of a physical print of the same work. So you like tap this picture and it pulls up like a on-chain inscription. So 2 inscriptions projects have taken this idea and they're basically doing like physical cards for like the collectible, and then it links to the ordinal, and it's a SATS chip. So inside of it, there's a Bitcoin private key, and it signs an attestation of its serial number. It's pretty cool.
More Bitcoin Message Digest security.
Mm-hmm.
BIP39 XOR by Greg Donowski. So you don't have crystal ball, therefore I'm contacting you and look forward to spreading the info about Bitcoin Review podcast. Thank you, sir. So I think this is like a library that he wrote for BIP39 XOR, encrypt and decrypt the cold words. It's distinct from alternative implementations like ours, the CoinKite seed XOR. And it generated encryption keys maintain BIP39 checksum integrity. Cool. I think we do. We have checksum integrity for 24 words, I think. Anyways, BIP329 Python library by Javier. Label base. He's the label guy. So he created a cool little library with a set of tools for BIP329, which is the labels. BIP by Craig from Sparrow. It's nice to see that this is taking off. And he bit my bait. I created a bounty for anybody who can get BIP329 merged into Electrum, which is still widely used. I think once Electrum has it, I think we're going to see a lot more adoption on this.
Because I think this is the second implementation of this, right? Because Craig obviously wrote the first one, but
Javier wrote the second as his label-based service.
Uh-huh.
And now this will be the third, I think.
How much is your bounty?
I can't remember. I'm going to either be poor or not. I'm going to find out.
This is important because, many Bitcoiners have found out throughout the years that our backups don't include our labels. And so you have a bunch of UTXOs and you have no idea what they are. So it's important that we can back up labels and import them and export them.
For our accounting, we depend on labels that are non-standard, and we hope to upgrade to standard labels at some point as well. because we have a script that goes through all the shopping cart transactions and sort of like attach the day exchange rate spot and blah blah blah, and then creates all the cap gains adjustments and all that bullshit. We call it auto accountant, and then it creates a file that we send to accountant, so they don't have to understand what the fuck's going on.
I'm looking at this library, and what's nice is it looks like it has a really simple interface. You just say like load entries, and you get a list of entries, these labels. So it should be really easy to write other software that uses this. So if you're using Sparrow Wallet and you export your labels, you could write a little Python script, or go on Fiverr and hire somebody to write a little Python script that pivots through it and dumps it into QuickBooks or something, right? Like I think that glueware for between your wallet and other finance packages is like a massive hole in the space, and hopefully stuff like this makes it easier to build standardized.
By the way, if anybody does that, I own a Bitcoin QB, as in QuickBooks.com.
Perfect.
we can put it there and create some glue. There is a lot of money in this. I think like Bitcoiners sort of like paid attention to, instead of like some sort of like other things that nobody wants. Like people will pay you $1,000 a year, more to make accounting easy. That just pushes all the shit into QuickBooks. Just saying. Huge market there. ParmanodL, a Linux computer runs. So Parma created this cool little Parma script to boot up a node, and it has a bunch of like Bitcoin tools in it. It's very cool. He has like really good Bitcoin education writings that are very thorough, like very 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 autistically thorough. It's very good. Also great food pictures. And now where I shit on Parma with the ParmaZero, that he decided to make a seed generator project on an air gap by zero. Don't do that. We've already had our discussion on Twitter about it. UTXOracle.
Wait, aren't both those projects Raspberry based though?
Yes. No, actually, no. You don't have to do the ParmanodL will run in other software. It doesn't have.
But he specifically calls out it downloads Raspberry OS in the release notes.
People and their weird fetish with RPIs. Right. UTXOracle. Get the price. Oh yeah, this was a cool little project. Somebody
super cool.
Did some chain analysis, and they are able to get spot on Bitcoin price prediction. It's pretty close. It's better than most traders. So that's kind of cool. A little project.
Yeah, so this relies on the fact that a lot of people send Bitcoin in amounts that are denominated in fiat. So like round amounts like $10 or $100.
Yes.
And so it parses mempools to basically take that information and then make a best guess on what the current market price is without like actually checking an exchange or something like that.
Yep.
That's really clever.
Can you run that on Start9 yet?
No.
Yeah,
I'm only just discovering this. I saw sort of some noise about it, maybe a week or two ago, but yeah, I mean, that's really cool. This is its own piece of software that runs and just spits out
just a Python script. So it's a single Python script. You need to have a Bitcoin node, and it just grabs blocks over the RPC interface.
Just on a daemon,
it's not even like if you guys wanted to package it up, you'd probably have to either put it in a container or write like systemd unit file for it or something. But like it's a Python script that you tell it what day you want to get the price for, and it'll go and fetch blocks from that day. And then it does a whole bunch of analysis on the outputs and fits them. It basically puts them into like a histogram.
Oh.
And then like slides a little stencil over the histogram and says, okay, this is what I think the price is.
Yeah, just put a Python header to it and add to your cron jobs.
Yeah, 100%.
I know what we can do. So StartOS has a really neat feature called Actions, which is where when somebody packages a service, they can take things that you would ordinarily do on the command line, like scripts or some commands, and basically package them up into a button for the user.
Uh-huh.
And it takes arbitrary input in validated form style. So what we could do is actually in our Bitcoin software, so no extra service at all. You just Bitcoin on StartOS could have an action called get price, where you click get price and then you select the date that you want the price of.
Yep.
Hit go, it'll run the script, report the answer back to the user. So we'll just do that. That seems like we could do that in like a day or two.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Okay, we go into Lightning. An hour and a half in. Hopefully we get somewhere here.
Well, I mean, luckily nothing happens in Lightning or other L2s, so this should be pretty quick.
Yeah. There's definitely not more than there was for Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So we're gonna start going faster through these. So LND version 0.17.0-beta. I mean, this is kind of a big fucking deal. Simple taproot channels. I don't think we can go fast on that one. I mean,
So Keegan, who was one of the founders of Start9, is now over at Lightning Labs heading up protocol development, working with Alalu. And his job for this release was to make existing channels upgradable to taproot channels so that people don't actually have to close their channels in order to get taproot channels. And it's like this super hack,
That's cool.
apparently, that is meant to act as like a stopgap so that people with huge nodes and legacy channels don't just have to like nuke all the work they've put in order to get on taproot channels.
Yeah, I don't know if LND, I don't think LND has splicing support, but it seems like it would be a similar dynamic where like you coordinate with your channel peer and then you guys just say like, all right, for the next state of our commitment transaction, we're going to do taproot outputs.
Yeah, I don't understand it because I wasn't listening when he was telling me, but like
that's standard procedure.
He definitely explained how he was doing this, and it had to do with channel closure. That when it goes to close, eventually it would do some unique.
But so you still have an on-chain transaction associated with it? Because like I thought this was an unsolved problem still.
What's the unsolved problem?
Because the key is, right, so you want to upgrade your channels, whatever you're upgrading your channels to. You do one channel, you do a channel close, that's your first transaction, and then you do a channel open, which is your next transaction.
Yeah.
Now, the ideal situation would be no on-chain transaction, but a slightly better situation would be a single on-chain transaction because mempools will probably be full and you won't be able to just pay 1 cent per byte for every channel.
No, it's going to be forever, Matt.
I would love for Keegan's very good at explaining things simply. Again, I just wasn't listening because I was really busy and this was at TabConf and I was like on my way to do something else. But he said it's possible and that he's building it and I believe him, generally speaking. So I'm not sure how he's doing it, but it would be a great follow-up question to the show to maybe, for the audience to like get that response from Keegan.
Yeah, but the point is, even if we can get it down to one on-chain, or if he can get it down to one on-chain transaction, I use the royal we there, that would be a massive win. Because if you have 200 channels, right, that you want to upgrade, that's 200 less transactions you have to make to upgrade your channels.
Yeah.
There is only royal we's in Bitcoin, Matt. It is the standard way of like resolving all this.
And then, the reason why LND is rolling out taproot channels before everybody else is for taproot assets. So that's
shitcoin.
That's got to be around the corner. Yep. Shitcoins on Lightning.
Well, there's apparently not much reason to upgrade to taproot channels right now because like the network isn't there and you'd only be interacting with other taproot channels or something.
Well, so beyond the assets thing, the thing I'm stoked about for taproot channels is being able to do like music channels. So instead of it looking like a 202 on chain, it just looks like a 1-on-1. And then eventually where I think we really want to go is using something like Frost if your end of the Lightning channel could actually be a threshold signature. So instead of it just being like one hotkey on your Start9 or on your server or on your phone or whatever, imagine if it's like a 2 of 3 or something else and like you have a VLS policy signer for like one of the factors and your phone for one of the factors and you can start having more secure key custody for
Here's
your
a cool
Lightning
thing.
keys.
Nostr was designed in that manner as well. This is the reason why they chose Schnorr over ECDSA for Nostr keys.
Yep.
The problem is it's going to be very rough on hardware to do that. So you're not going to be able to do this on Java cards, which is going to make it like very unlikely you can do this on TAPSIGNER or something like that.
But maybe on a SATSLINK.
Yeah, SATSLINK can do it.
Yeah.
Somebody just needs to write.
The royal we.
All right. And by the way, I think like people who trying to do shit coins, shit assets on Bitcoin are going to have a rude awakening. Nobody wants that. The scammers want Ethereum because it was designed to support the scam. Bitcoin doesn't have scam properties, but that's just my opinion. Mutiny Node version 0.4.20, blazing fast payments. So these guys released their node. I will skip the details. Mutiny Wallet. It's now a lot easier to self-host Mutiny. The team put together a new repo with core pieces you need and docs for self-hosting on a VPS.
They sure did. So coming soon.
Cool.
I've been working with Ben over the last few days to get their Docker Compose shenanigans down into a single Docker file because we don't support Docker Compose.
Instance on "we are working on it" is the correct pronoun here.
That's right. Yeah. So self-hosted Mutiny coming very soon to StartOS.
That's super cool. Has anybody tried the new GIFs feature?
I can't run it right now because it doesn't run in lockdown mode. I'm waiting for the iOS version. That's...
I just said the word Docker and it reminded me of something. So I have another announcement to make for Start9 and StartOS. Docker is like the Raspberry Pi. Okay. It's just a piece of shit.
It's absolute trash. Fuck Docker.
So we trashed it. 0.3.5, which is in beta testing right now and is code complete. Final stage of testing will be coming out in the next week, we expect.
Sorry, what are you guys moving to?
Podman.
Okay.
So we're killing the Docker daemon. Obviously, you can still create Docker files, right? So containers, it can run any kind of container. But yeah, we've ditched Docker. And also with 0.3.5, we refactored our own DB software that we developed called PatchDB, which uses the JSON patch library to basically exchange shared state from the server to the client over a WebSocket using a JSON patch structure. We refactored that to have no more locking behavior because it was kind of queuing things up and causing the UI to be a little bit slow. And we refactored the whole way that StartOS orchestrates containers, meaning like we don't use Docker Compose. We're a far more sophisticated alternative to Docker Compose. So it's almost how you can view StartOS to an extent. And it's running custom package formats with metadata so that the user experience can be significantly enhanced. That's basically what we've built. But so we refactored that to just be a lot better. It just hadn't been touched in a couple of years, and we refactored it. The 0.3.5 is just this insane performance and reliability update that's coming next week, and you have to feel it to experience it. I don't know if you guys run it, but our users are literally going to hit the channels and just be like, "What did you do?" It already is performant and reliable. But we've gotten to the point now where I almost had to implement artificial spinners on the front end because the services were starting and stopping so fast that it almost looked like the UI was glitching because it would change state so quickly. So I had to sort of slow things down artificially just so the user could experience it like a normal computer. Anyway.
Good problem to have.
Yeah. Yeah. Very exciting. So
have you guys looked at Firecracker at all?
No. What is that?
Okay. I have an ask if I can push something onto your roadmap to have an engineer do a time boxed sprint or whatever to check out Firecracker. So Firecracker is this project. It came out of AWS and it's what Lambda and Fargate run on top of. Because in compute hosting, right, you have this trade-off to make of do I want to host Docker containers or do I want to host VMs? And Docker containers are fast, lightweight, easy to deploy, but they all run on a shared kernel. And so if you have a kernel breakout or container breakout vulnerability, then everything gets hosed. And then VMs have hardware level isolation, but they take seconds to spin up and they're a lot heavier. So what Firecracker did is it's basically a VMM that gives you full hardware VMs, but they spin up as quickly as Docker containers. They basically stripped out all of the virtualized hardware except for a network adapter, a disk adapter, and a keyboard with one button. And then they hyper optimized everything so that you can spin up a full VM. And I think it's 120 milliseconds.
How is this different than just using FreeBSD jails? And now that Amazon has improved their boot up for that, it's I don't know, some millisecond sort of rating there.
Yeah, I mean, jails are going to be better than containers, but you're still running shared kernel space. And at ring zero on the CPU, you don't have isolation between pages and L2 cache and shit.
I have a note down. I will absolutely bring this to Aiden's attention. There's a good chance that one, Aiden is very well aware of it, and two, we might even be doing something with it.
That'd be great.
Aiden's in like a mad lab right now because 040, unlike 035, that's just this nice performance and reliability optimization. 040 is this whole new thing that we've been working on for a long time and is a total game changer, we think. So I don't know exactly what he's doing in that lab right now. I'll run this by him. It's possible he's already moving in this direction.
Yeah, like this is why you don't have to worry about things like Specter and Meltdown if you're running on like Lambda or Fargate. Cool. It's because they're actually separate VMs.
Cool.
Breez 1.0.23 and 0.22, a bunch of updates. And they have NFC support on iOS now too. That's cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think, NFC is going to really sort of heat up as devs sort of take their time to understand, because it's simple, but it's very device sort of finicky. So there is a lot of sort of like little edge cases for people to work out, but like, it's just such a better experience than QRs.
Also on Android phones, the NFC sensor is like all the fuck over the place.
It's retarded. And also like in the middle of the phone where your hand goes, really Google?
Yeah, is where the NFC antenna is. Yeah.
Apple is the only one that has like NFC on the very good place, which is the very top on an angle. Exactly what you would do if you wanted to tap something.
Yeah. Who'd have thunk it?
Phoenix, the splice upgrade. Oh yeah, so now they have a channel splicing running on the wallet, which is really cool.
So they have channel splicing, and then the other thing that they do is when you first install the app and you deposit on chain, they use a really cool protocol from Z-Man and Jesse Postner. They posted it to the mailing list a while ago, and I think Phoenix is actually the first implementation of it, called Swap and Potentium, where the idea is that if you think about Lightning normally, you like fund your wallet on chain and then you open a channel after it's been confirmed. How Swap and Potentium works is when you get your on-chain deposit address, that actually goes to like a 2 of 2 wallet between you and the Phoenix LSP, between you and Async. And then as soon as they see it in the mempool, they can basically open like a zero conf channel to you, because, or maybe it has to be confirmed first, but they can immediately open a zero conf channel to you because you can't double spend that UTXO because it's a 2 of 2. And then there's a time locked refund path. So if async goes away, you can get your money back. So just like faster onboarding. It's super cool.
I mean, Phoenix really sort of like pushes the envelope with like a lot of the Lightning stuff.
Yeah, they do such a good job.
So when they made this announcement, I went and downloaded it and did exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
Which was I deposited it to the on-chain wallet. And when I went back and looked at it a little bit later to open my channels, it was all done.
It was already done.
I was like, oh, the fuck? What just happened? And I had to go dig and figure out what just happened because I wasn't expecting that. Yeah.
Well, nothing is happening in Bitcoin, so that wasn't important. It didn't happen.
That's right.
It's really cool. Phoenix is really cool. And then I immediately started looking at, okay, well, what self-hosting options are there? And it turns out that the entire node is running on the phone, so you don't need to host a node in the back end. It's actually obviating that whole necessity, but you can connect it to your own Electrum server because it still needs to do on-chain detection.
One thing that are sort of like, how like wallets tend to sort of like eventually start becoming like more niche, like for each of the different niches.
Yeah.
I'm finding that like Phoenix is like really good to hold a little bit more Lightning funds on it. And then Mutiny is where I'm like, having my sort of like fuck around sort of like spending stuff. So you can send to people socially, you can do the gift thing. And then I'm using Zeus to like sort of like deal with the node that I don't have that's on Alby.
Mm-hmm.
Then eventually will be my node one day, maybe. I don't know.
Zeus works great. Zeus works great with StartOS, both CLN and LND. And if you use LND with Lightning Terminal and Lightning Node Connect, Zeus is, instant from anywhere, but you are relaying that off a Lightning Lab server. So beware.
Alby version 3.2.0. On-chain swaps and send payments on-chain addresses with DZ.io directly from within the extension. Cool. And a bunch of other updates.
That's nice.
Wait 1 second. Just, do all extensions auto update? Is that just like extensions security model?
I think so. It's not like there is no button to update.
I think by default it does. I think you can.
No, you can, like, I have auto updates for extensions turned off on Firefox.
Yeah.
That's what you mean.
But everybody's on Chrome, right? Like the whole world is on Chrome. So like it's not a choice.
Yeah, but I know, but none of our users are.
Well, so like, I don't trust the Alby extension, but it's become like essential in the Nostr ecosystem for better or for worse right now where we are.
Yeah.
So like I run a isolated like Chromium instance that has my Alby extension, like not isolated and like low IQ isolated. Like it's a browser just for Alby.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure I can't turn off auto updates. I just don't use extensions normally because they just scare the shit out of me.
Matt, so the way that I dealt with this for Alby specifically was I have multiple instances of Firefox running on my computer. So I actually have multiple Firefoxes, and one of them is dedicated to running the Alby extension, which is also set to not auto update.
Okay.
Odell is on the path to running cubes for his daily driver.
Yeah, he's going to do cubes. I have a plead. Dear Galaxy Brain friend, core developer genius, please stop telling users who don't understand like what the fuck is going on to use Cubes OS or any other complicated key management system for their Bitcoin. It really, 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 really does a disservice to education. Thank you. eNuts version 0.0.4-beta. So that's like a cashew app.
Yep, that's true.
Minibits version 0.1.2-beta.6. That's a nice versioning there. Now open beta testing on Google Play. Minibits payment request you can send. I don't know what is Minibits. Do you guys know?
No.
I don't know. It looks like it's
Enter open. You know.
It's another eCash wallet. It's another cashew wallet.
All right, BitBanana version 0.6.7 Lightning node management. It's kind of like a Zeus, right?
No, it's Zap Android.
Oh, Zap Android. Okay.
Okay.
But the lead maintainer isn't affiliated with Strike. Changed the name.
Okay. Torq version 1.1.5. It's very cool node management software for Lightning. 10.10.1, first implementation of self-custodial perps and a bunch of other degen, DLC, Lightning stuff.
They also now have a synthetic USD that's all DLCs over Lightning.
Very synthetic. Extra synthetic. These things will behave very naturally if the price spikes up or down. You totally be fine and not wrecked.
That's right.
They are not exponentials at all. River launched eNural payments and Lightning vouchers are live. I really like the work that River is doing. Those guys are really pushing the envelope of more corpy Lightning. GigSats version 0.2.0, a marketplace where people can offer their skills and services for payments in Bitcoin. Kind of like, I guess it's Craigslist for Lightning or Helping Hands. Imprototest version 0.0.5, a test suite for Lightning Network Protocol. Fedimint version 0.1.0, official Fedimint release, comprehensive test, TabCon hack day thing. Project Spotlight, ProxNut, a cashew proxy that asks for nuts to get rite of passage. Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's like the L402 stuff, like the Lightning paywall. This is like a cashew paywall.
Like kind of like a gift wrap kind of deal?
Yeah, like so, I have some API resource and I want people to pay for it. And so you can pay for access to that data or whatever it is with eCash.
Cashew eNural service that allows users to sign up for LN address via Nostr. Cool. All right, Nostr updates. Jesus fucking Christ. I don't have too much more time, but we're going to go through this. NDK version 1.3.0, massive user profile speed up, and a bunch of other things. Well done, Pablo. Rust Nostr version 0.24.0. Damus version 1.6-18 is getting very fast with their new Nostr DB thing. Primal, iOS, direct messages, and other fixes, Android create account, and a bunch of other stuff. 0x chat version 1.2.1-beta added voice and video calling capabilities. That's very cool. This project is interesting. They sort of like being very sort of themselves on how they want to interpret Nostr and doing sort of their own thing. It's kind of interesting to see. Snort version 0.1.19 highlight search results. version 0.1.15, user status and profiles and other things, including MIP, music only, NIP38. Wavelake, people have been posting a lot of stuff on Wavelake, which is a place for you to post audio in a Nostr sort of note, and then you can get paid and all that stuff. The Sea Shanties guy, I forget his name now, just posted a new sea shanty there. Very cool. Amethyst, many updates. Coracle, many updates. Nos Social, Nostr, Gossip, Loom, Agora Social, Nostr SS, RSS, Spring, and Amber, all updates. Project Spotlight, exit.pub, a nice little project by Pablo where you can download your Twitter backup of all your tweets and then repost them on Nostr as signed notes with a date. So if the clients follow the correct spec, you can have back notes in time for all your tweets. Kind of cool, but also kind of nice to erase your past. I still haven't done it. I'm not sure how I feel about transporting all that stuff. Plus, Twitter still has not sent me my link to download, so I imagine it's going to be like, a couple 100 gigabytes of data.
Yeah.
I thought mine was big. It was like 7 gigs or something like that.
I still don't have it, so
I like this as a concept. I think it's a really cool concept. He has it value for value implemented, so you pick how much you want to pay him sats per tweet. One hiccup is a lot of relays will block backdated signed posts, so he had to launch his own relay that it automatically sends it to that relay. So you're not really sure if it's going to go to other relays, is my understanding. But it's a cool concept. Obviously, you're trusting the person who's uploading it, but he did add an interesting aspect that as long as Twitter, they're probably going to close it off with a login paywall or whatever. But until that happens, every post has a link to the original tweet. So you can do like a very basic verification that someone didn't doctor it.
Now, you could do a even better version of this where it goes and it takes a snapshot of the Twitter as a picture as well.
Yeah.
And then adds that to the note.
Well, one cool thing he did add is it uses satellite CDN, which you pay for with Sats. It's like a Nostr native CDN.
Oh, that's cool.
So you don't have to trust Twitter is still going to host any pictures or videos that you posted on Twitter that you're importing, which I like. And I mean, to me, the reason this is cool is because I've never deleted any of my tweets. Like, I have years of tweets, and one of my favorite things of doing on Twitter for like the last 2 years, 3 years is just retweeting an old tweet that covers whatever the daily drama is. And it's just like a really nice passive-aggressive way to handle it. And it'd be nice to just do that on Nostr.
For sure.
It's just interesting because like this project kind of touches like more than just like a tech, right? Like it really sort of like makes you sort of have a conscious decision on how you want to handle your content.
Well, Odell, like now that it's getting easier to host large language models locally, maybe what you do is throw all of your old tweets into one of these LLMs and then just pipe Nostr discourse into there and say, find me an old tweet.
Like there's like young Dan Helds. There's like thousands of them that are doing that with all the tweets out there. That's going to be the next breed of influencers, are just going to be, instead of just blindly copying a tweet and doing Control-C, Control-V and not providing any hat tip or whatnot, they're just going to use AI to do it.
Cool.
You probably even have it read in my voice because of fucking have
that'd be hilarious.
5,000 hours of voice content saying every single word in the dictionary.
Yep. I mean, like I've been asking Pablo for a while now. What I want is I want my client to make a feed for me, like a feed tag, right? Say, for example, I don't know, like Start9, right? So it goes, it sees all the notes from my global feed, uses AI to sort of to categorize them all and then create major tags. And then one of the tags will be, say, like post about Start9, and then I click on Start9 and then it's all related to Start9. But it gets over spells, it gets over spaces, it gets over like all the, and it could even infer, right? Somebody is referring to Start9 on something, but didn't really expressly use the word. You should be able to still add that to the conversation. That's what I really want. Come on, Pablo, you don't have anything else to do. Get it done, buddy.
Yeah, dude, when are we starting Pablo.review episodes?
Oh, it's going to happen.
Yeah, for sure. I would stay awake through that one.
Zap threads, thread comment component built on Nostr, Prism, split, $signs Prism. It's a split Zap payment with multiple users. Yana, yet another Nostr application like that. Formster, a usable alternative to Google Forms. This is cool. I love these like simple things that replace like very useful things that, like Evil Empire has.
I want to comment on something there too, which is that I love experimentation and trying to implement everything in the kitchen sink on any new protocol that arises, because we don't know what we don't know, and we're going to learn things about what is the best use case for these protocols. There's nothing wrong with self-hosting form software that just runs as a server on your server, right? Like you don't need Nostr for that, right? Like trying to build everything on Nostr, I think, is fun, but ultimately, like, why? It's like people want to build everything on Lightning.
I think a lot of people are missing like some of the point here. It's not that like you want to sort of like put everything on Nostr. Like I agree with you, it's retarded. But the point of things like this is that these are exactly the things that should be built on Nostr. It's text-based. You leverage the whole Nostr network. So, for example, if this form lives on Nostr, the responses live on Nostr, and the replies live on Nostr, these are all intrinsically linked as events that can just live in multiple relays, right? That they can be further dispersed out, right? Like,
yeah, it's in a way using Nostr for data redundancy.
It's more than that. It's more like, think about like more creating social graphs. Like you create more connections in the graph. So you're going to get more people probably responding to that form, because that form will appear and it's already part of the network and it's within the, like, you don't have to point to DNS, for example, right? That's a huge thing. So this is just a node ID, right?
Yeah.
I don't have to point to a DNS, a domain that's going to host the form, because that DNS is centralized. So like,
yeah. So you're talking about the difference between I create a form on my server and I have a link, right, that says click here to fill out my form, and I post that on Nostr. That is different than creating the form on Nostr, because I'm not involving the legacy internet or DNS system.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. I got to think about that a little bit more if there's another way around that, because like with Tor that doesn't happen because you're not involving DNS either, but then you're dealing with Tor.
That's right. Imagine like decoupling the text content from the location of the content without DHT.
Well, and also like NAT traversal is really hard for a lot of people, and Tor brings a lot of complexity. If the only reason why you're reaching for Tor is like NAT traversal and DNS, like you end up signing up for a lot with Tor.
Oh, sure. I mean, that is exactly what we used Tor for in the early days, right? Tor was the smoothest way to get someone up and running with their own server, which sounds crazy because it's awful, but it was actually the most user-friendly way to get somebody to be able to access things remotely. We are solving a lot of the NAT traversal issues with 040. That's kind of the whole point of 040 is networking.
So let me give you a couple examples that might help with this. So one is having your blog, right? Your personal blog, right? Right now, like if you don't want to run your own server, right? Like most people are just putting as a GitHub pages thing, right? Or on Ghost or something. The problem with that is, again, you're back to DNS and that content is siloed, right? Like you could add comments to that, but there would be some JavaScript widget that like stores the comments somewhere else. And it's just, like the content is not really intrinsically linked, right? And intrinsically stored. So there is the Ablanot News, for example, right? You go there, you create essentially a long form post on Nostr that understands versioning, right? So if you edit something, it creates a new event, and it can couple comments that are Nostr events as well. And all of that sort of like leave ephemerally, right? Like in relays. So you could run your own relay on your Start9 as a backup of that, right? Because you don't know if it's going to be forever in the relay, the relays that you sent it to. But like this thing is all, they're all intrinsically linked. So you never lose the comments versus the content, and the content doesn't live in DNS. But it could be displayed in DNS with a client that allows you to do that.
Yeah, so this is a really interesting conversation for me, and maybe we don't want to dig in too deeply here because of time. But, like we have Ghost on StartOS, right? So you can self-host your own blog, and by default, that blog is going to be accessible at a Tor v3 hidden service URL, which makes it pretty much unusable for a lot of the world to be able to read your blog. So what we are doing with 040, for instance, is introducing additional networking capabilities such as ClearNet in a way that the user doesn't have to be super advanced and go into their router and do port forwardings and routing rules and all that stuff. We're leveraging IPv6 heavily. We're leveraging the option to do cloud-based like zero config VPSs that do home IP obfuscation and act as a WireGuard, reverse proxy so that people can just like we're doing a lot of advanced shit that will ultimately express to the user as like a normal button on a screen computing experience. But what you're saying is that all of that effort might just be a stopgap towards a future where we're using Nostr really to obviate DNS,
yes,
and to not really use the public internet. Now, we had always talked about this and known that everything that we were doing would not be permanent, that eventually there would be an alternative DNS system that is decentralized and anonymous, right, but still verifiable. And we've had many conversations about what form that DNS system might take. Bitcoin has even come up from time to time as being a viable way to do DNS, albeit it might be expensive and slow and piss off some, scarce chain space people. But anyway, you're just saying Nostr could actually function as a DNS system.
It's more than that. It's like the information.
It just bypasses the need.
Think about it this way. I like to think in terms of like the information lives in the social graph and the social graph lives in the information. And you can do this without time. So Bitcoin is all about time, right? It's time chain. Nostr is all about not having time and not depending on time.
Yep.
Every single message is encapsulated in its own envelope package, right? Without time. I mean, it has a time signature, but it doesn't need time to exist.
Yeah. But there needs to be some sort of priority of claim over certain namespaces, right?
No, there is no namespace.
Well, but what if I want one, right? As a business or something like that. Like, what if
I mean, do whatever you want. I mean, we have NIP5 where essentially you can have you can have your pub key, right? Your Nostr and pub key on your domain so that the clients can go and check if that domain really has that pub key, and then you can say, oh, this one is verified by that domain. So
yeah, but I mean, that is leaning on the existing DNS system.
Yeah. If you want that,
I mean, like Zuko's triangle comes for us all, right? Like you can have a name that's like pick two out of secure, decentralized, and human memorable, right? Like you can have two of those, right? But like if you have decentralized,
what were the three?
Decentralized, human memorable, and secure.
Yeah.
Right. So you can have like a decentralized naming system that have human readable names, but you're going to have like name collisions and people can like name hijack and stuff.
So why can't Bitcoin solve this? Ignoring for a second whether it is efficient or scalable, let's just talk about the basic functionality of Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to register a domain, right, claim ownership over something.
Oh, BitDNS and Namecoin, we've been there.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't scale. Like we can't. No, I mean, like you can put in an open time, but who is the arbiter of the scarcity of the namespace, right? Because, for example, I'll give you my example, right? Back in the day, .bit, right? Somebody squatted all my company names on .bit, right? I'm like, I'm not gonna fucking pay them. There is no Lindy on .bit, so screw .bit. I'm gonna just either fork .bit so I can have my name back. Right, so it's essentially like there is no scarcity unless there is like the state actor sort of enforcing scarcity through a single internet and a single DNS system, right? If we were able to fork DNS, right, and have DNS run through the same pipes, DNS2, DNSB, DNSC, DNS, D, you could have like Microsoft be owned by 4 different companies, right? If that was sort of unenforced by the state actor, like it's an unsolvable problem once you get off sort of like the fiat universe, right? Because, we have infinite derivation capabilities with the public key cryptography that we use. So, if we're just referring like to hashes, right? Like just as pointers, then like there's no scarcity really.
So you say, I agree with everything you just said, but I also acknowledge a need for human readable.
Oh, absolutely.
Web addresses.
So you're going to have to trust clients.
Are verifiable and secure.
You're going to have to trust clients and reputation of a key. right? Like that there is not, like the world that we go to is more towards that than it is. Yeah. Like,
Yeah, I agree.
you're just going to have big clashes as the two sort of worlds go further out, right?
Yeah, and I think that could take a long time, to be honest.
Oh, absolutely.
People aren't going to stop using Chrome to visit websites anytime soon.
I mean, listen, I still don't have CoinKite on Nostr because I don't have a good way of doing key delegation, right? So I can't have my staff have access to the key because I can't revoke the key. Yeah.
Well, and like recovery, right? Like if you had your whole business using like a Nostr name and then you have a loss or a compromise of that key.
Yeah, key management.
What do? You end up relying on like social signaling, like, hey, everybody, it's now CoinKite2.Nostr, right? And
by the way, we've solved the key delegation in a conversation between me, Pablo, Milian, and Will. And I think Fiat Jeff was also consulted on that one.
Great.
It's just I don't think it has, like Pablo was supposed to publish somewhere. It's very simple. This is going to trigger a lot of people too. We went for the minimum common denominator, right? With backwards compatibility.
Okay.
So what you do is you have a parent key that signs for a new key, right?
Yep.
Assigns ownership of the new key. And is derived deterministically, hierarchical deterministic keys, right?
Yep.
So then you can say, hey, this is my new key, right?
Yep.
And the child key or the parent key can sign saying this key is no longer good, right? Use the new key on the chain, right?
Mm-hmm.
Only the parent can sign for a new key, but parent and child can sign for a delete key, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can use your existing key as a parent key to create new keys if you want to be backwards compatible.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that enforcement will happen is on an owner system by clients. So, that's where, it's like, great. If the clients are honoring key deletion, right? Key deprecation, great, use those clients. If they're not, then maybe you don't want to use those clients, or maybe you don't want to use clients that honor the system. But it does resolve all the problems, at least for now, until we have like some galaxy brain solution that resolves that. Because, we went through all paths. And all paths sort of like need coordinators, need shit that we just can't do, right? So anyway, that was the solution. Come on, Pablo. This is supposed to be a nip right now.
Sounds great.
Right now. That meme, it don't exist. I can't forget the meme anymore.
The royal we.
That's right. Software releases. Simple X chat, encrypt local files with local storage, and a bunch of other updates. That's great. Obscura VPN. Still need details. There's a lot of interesting claims. This would be really cool if it works, but need to see the code.
Yeah, I hope it works as described. It sounds really cool.
Mm-hmm. Boosts. Thanks everyone for streaming SATS. Okay, right. So top booster Grant Gilliam. So Grant says this was a great episode to sleep through. Thank you. You're welcome. Ape Meef Reindeer sent 3 boosts. Nerds, Sparrow plus Frost. That sounds interesting. The activation discussion was not useful as expected, but from sounds of it, this change is useful enough to warrant another soft fork.
So what he's saying is that the contents of the change are interesting. The discussion around activation are not interesting. I wholeheartedly agree.
As we sort of all come to the terms of the original sin and the original problem, which is how to get shit activated on Bitcoin.
Yeah.
By the way, if you want to listen to us coming to that conclusion and sort of arguing about this, it was really good, I think, discussion on the last episode. I forget the number. It was really, really nice. Vake, Bitcoin's boring. Yes, we agree. Petar, I clipped this show at the part where you said nobody's going to clip this show. Great pod.
Excellent.
NVK, I'm 37-year-old. I need pats on my back. No, you need a girlfriend, sir. Wife and kids. Love you, though. And a hug. I rather enjoyed not listening to the end of the episode. I really needed the sleep. That was Dubravko. Connor Chapinik. Insightful rip. Thank you. Urza CC. If we don't know what we're doing, then they don't know it either. Yeah, I think that's referring to the fact that I keep on saying that chaos is on our side and it's our firewall against state actors. Backstar, amazing as always. Wartime Psycho, nice name. Good rip, cheers. I'm not going to go through the reading list, sirs. There's a bunch of cool articles there and news and noteworthy, a lot of stuff too. ZeroSync news. Both ZeroSync and U3XO have open SATS grants, maybe, or applications or something.
Oh, cool.
Can't remember. Marapool mined an invalid block that was interesting, and they got screwed. Great. Have fun staying poor. GPU Topia launched a marketplace to sell and buy GPUs. More Lightning news.
Hey guys, I'm posting Keegan's summary in the channel here so we can parse this together. I haven't read through it yet, but this is what he said.
Ooh, coming in hot.
Oh God, I clicked on something here. Oh, there. Competition hackathons, ZBD, Pleb Labs, TabConf, a lot of cool, interesting projects. So all this stuff is on the show notes, guys. Like, the show notes are insanely thorough. There's a lot of reading to do. There's a lot of links, funding through HRF lists, other VC fund rounds, the business and finance news. Big O and Swan plan to do something that they hopefully would do. Anchor Watch raised 3 mil. Congrats, Rob. MSTR continues to be in Chad and buying all the Bitcoin. I think Sailor's goal is to have 1% of Bitcoin. He's not far.
It's a good goal.
Neo Profit. Goddamn humans and unit bias, huh? Even on the 1% of Bitcoin, it's total unit bias. Humans can do a bunch of bananas. They cannot do more than a handful of banana. It's kind of funny. Hyper Bitcoinization, new nonprofit launch, workforce, blah. Sorry guys, I can't do this anymore. It's just too much stuff. Go read the notes. We're gonna have Substack soon. We set it up. We're gonna have Beck notes on it, so you can get this delivered to your boomer box, as I call email. And there's a lot of cool articles for you to read, and also a link to the NSA Orchestra talk by PKH, right? PHK at FOSDEM in 2014. That was a great talk, so you understand how the spooks fucked with protocols. Guys, I don't think we're gonna get to this to more here on the Taproot assets and all that stuff, but we can save that for the next episode. Thank you so much for coming, the three of you. This was 2 hours and 20 minutes so far, plus the extra 10 minutes we talked in private. So, any final thoughts, Mr. Matt Hill?
No.
Okay, that's great.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate being here.
It's just nice to see a noob that hopefully went to pee before the show, because it is long and arduous. Mr. Odell, nice to see you again here, sir. Any final thoughts?
Thanks for having me again. I'm pretty excited for simple key revocation or rotation, I guess. And Noster, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I look forward to running Seed Signer on SATSLINK.
Very nice to have you, sir, again. Rijndael, look at me. I am a podcaster now, sir. What's final thoughts?
Go play with the ZeroSync demo. It's awesome.
Thank you so much for coming, sir, and all your commentary as the smart person here.
Oh, boy.
And with that, sirs, thank you so much. This was awesome. Thank you. Take care.
See ya. Bye, everyone.
Thanks for listening. For more resources, check the show notes. We put a lot of effort into them. And remember, we don't have a crystal ball, so let us know about your project. Visit bitcoin.review to find out how to get in touch.